Hey folks, before we dive into Canada's history, we gotta start with the folks who were here first, eh? We're talking thousands of years before any European ships showed up. The indigenous peoples with their own unique cultures and traditions were the original inhabitants of this land. First up, we got the Inuit in the Arctic. They're known for their incredible skills in hunting, fishing, and surviving in some of the harshest conditions imaginable. Talk about resilience. Then there are the First Nations, spread across the rest of what we now call Canada. They had their own distinct languages, governance systems, and spiritual beliefs. And let's not forget the Métis. They emerged from the fur trade era with a rich heritage blending indigenous and European roots. These three groups, each with their own stories and perspectives, form the foundation of Canada's cultural tapestry. Remember, understanding Canada's past means recognizing the contributions and struggles of its indigenous peoples. It's a history that's still being written today as we work towards reconciliation and healing. Alright, let's rewind back to the late 15th century. The Vikings, those intrepid explorers, briefly set foot in what's now Newfoundland around the year 1000. But it wasn't until 1497 that John Cabot, an Italian explorer sailing for England, landed on the shores of what is now Canada. This marked the beginning of European exploration, and unfortunately, the eventual colonization of this land. The French, led by Jacques Cartier, arrived in the 1530s exploring the St. Lawrence River and claiming the land for France. This set the stage for centuries of rivalry between the French and British for control of North America. The arrival of Europeans brought trade, but it also brought diseases that devastated indigenous populations. It's a time of complex interactions, marked by both cooperation and conflict. The fur trade in particular played a significant role in shaping the relationship between Europeans and indigenous peoples, with both sides seeking to benefit from the exchange of goods. Hold on to your hats, folks, because the fur trade is about to explode. New France, as the French colony was called, became a major player in the global fur market. Beaver pelts, prized for their warmth and luxurious feel, were all the rage in Europe. The French established trading posts and settlements along major waterways like Quebec City in 1608 and Montreal in 1642. Samuel de Champlain, a key figure in New France's history, played a crucial role in these developments. Now here's where things get interesting. The French realized they couldn't dominate the fur trade without working with the indigenous peoples. They formed alliances with powerful indigenous nations like the Huron-Wendat and the Algonquin. These alliances were mutually beneficial, at least for a time, fostering trade and diplomatic ties. But the influx of Europeans also brought competition for resources and, sadly, more diseases that took a heavy toll on indigenous communities. Fast forward to the 18th century, and the rivalry between France and Britain for control of North America heats up. The 7 Years' War, a global conflict from 1756 to 1763, proved to be a turning point. The British, with their victory at the Battle of the Plains of Abraham in 1759, gained control of New France. The Treaty of Paris in 1763 officially ceded the colony to Britain. Now, under British rule, the colony was renamed Quebec. The British faced the challenge of governing a large French-speaking population. In 1774 they passed the Quebec Act which, get this, allowed the French to keep their language, religion, and civil law. This act, while controversial at the time, is seen by some historians as a step towards recognizing the distinct identity of Quebec within British North America. It also laid the groundwork for Canada's eventual embrace of bilingualism. Section 5, British Colonial Period, Seeds of Discontent and the Rise of Canada. The late 18th and early 19th centuries were a time of change and upheaval in British North America. The American Revolution, just south of the border, had a profound impact on the colonies that would become Canada. Many United Empire loyalists, those who remained loyal to the crown, fled north to escape the revolution. They settled primarily in what are now Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Ontario, shaping the cultural landscape of these provinces. Tensions between Britain and the United States continued to simmer, eventually boiling over in the War of 1812. The war, fought on Canadian soil, saw both victories and defeats for the British and their Canadian and Indigenous allies. While it didn't result in any significant boundary changes, it fostered a sense of Canadian identity, distinct from both Britain and the United States. Section 6 Confederation from sea to sea, well, almost. Alright, buckle up because we're about to witness the birth of a nation. By the mid-19th century, the British colonies in North America were facing some serious challenges. Economic woes, political deadlock, and the looming threat of American expansionism convinced many that a united front was needed. So on July 1, 1867, the Dominion of Canada was born. The provinces of Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and the newly formed Ontario and Quebec came together under one federal government. John A. Macdonald, a shrewd politician with a knack for compromise, became Canada's first prime minister. Now, this wasn't some overnight miracle. Confederation was the result of years of negotiations, debates, and a whole lot of compromises. It wasn't perfect, and there were still many challenges ahead, but it marked a pivotal moment in Canadian history. Section 7, The Last Spike, Uniting a Nation by Rail. Imagine this, a railway stretching across a vast and untamed land, connecting the Atlantic to the Pacific. That was the dream of a transcontinental railroad, and it became a defining project for the young nation of Canada. The Canadian Pacific Railway, a massive undertaking fraught with engineering challenges and financial risks, was seen as essential for uniting the country and promoting economic growth. Thousands of workers, including many Chinese immigrants who faced dangerous conditions and discrimination, toiled tirelessly to build the railway. Finally, on November 7, 1885, the last spike was driven in at Craigellachie, British Columbia. This momentous occasion marked the completion of a national dream, connecting Canada from coast to coast. The CPR opened up the West to settlement, facilitated trade, and helped to solidify Canada's presence on the world stage. Section 8, Wars, Depression, and Global Upheaval. The 20th century brought its share of triumphs and tragedies for Canada, as it did for the rest of the world. Canada, as part of the British Empire, answered the call to arms in World War I. Canadian soldiers distinguished themselves in battles like Vimy Ridge and Passchendaele, earning a reputation for their bravery and tenacity. The war, however, came at a great cost, with over 60,000 Canadians making the ultimate sacrifice. The Great Depression of the 1930s hit Canada hard, leading to widespread unemployment and economic hardship. But even in these dark times, Canadians showed resilience and a spirit of community. World War II saw Canada once again stand up for democracy and freedom. From the beaches of Normandy to the skies over Europe, Canadian forces fought with courage and distinction. The war also had a profound impact on Canada's social fabric, leading to increased industrialization and the entry of women into the workforce in unprecedented numbers. Section 9. The Canadian Mosaic, Embracing Diversity. After World War II, Canada experienced a wave of immigration from all corners of the globe. This influx of newcomers from Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Caribbean transformed Canada into the diverse and multicultural nation it is today. Canada adopted official multiculturalism in 1971, recognizing and celebrating the contributions of its diverse population. This policy stood in contrast to the assimilationist policies of the past, which often sought to suppress cultural differences. Canada's commitment to multiculturalism has not been without its challenges, but it has fostered a society that, for the most part, embraces diversity and inclusivity. Canada has become a beacon of hope for people from all over the world seeking a better life. It's a work in progress, but the Canadian mosaic, with its rich tapestry of cultures, languages, and traditions, is something to be celebrated. Canada today, a nation of peacekeepers and innovators. So, here we are in the 21st century. Canada has come a long way, eh? From a collection of British colonies to a confident and independent nation, Canada has made its mark on the world stage. Known for its peacekeeping efforts, Canada has played an active role in international affairs, promoting peace and diplomacy around the globe. Canada is also a leader in fields like technology, medicine, and environmental science. From the invention of the telephone to the discovery of insulin, Canadians have made significant contributions to human progress. And let's not forget about Canada's stunning natural beauty. From the rugged peaks of the Rocky Mountains to the windswept shores of the Atlantic, Canada is a land of breathtaking landscapes. Of course, challenges remain. Canada is still grappling with the legacy of its colonial past and working towards reconciliation with its Indigenous peoples. Economic inequality, climate change, and social justice issues continue to demand attention. But you know what? Canadians are a resilient bunch. We're not afraid to roll up our sleeves and tackle tough issues head-on. With our commitment to peace, diversity, and innovation, I'm confident that Canada's best days are yet to come. Stay tuned, folks.